What if death wasn't an ending, but a companion? What if the desert wasn't just a barren land, but the map of your inner self, waiting to reveal an oasis born from your own transformation? In today's episode, we journey through solitude, thirst, and silence, until we uncover the miracle hiding in plain sight, the spring of water. This is not just a story, it's a revelation, a reminder of what we seek out there is actually something we can be. Stay with us because this one might just change the way you see life and death.
Before presenting the next note, watch our story called Spring of Water. It is necessary to clarify what it is. A spring of water is a natural source of water that flows from the ground, usually emerging from an underground aquifer where water has accumulated over time. Springs occur when groundwater pressure causes water to flow to the surface through natural openings in the earth, often in valleys, hillsides, or rocky terrains. The water from springs is typically fresh and can vary in temperature, with some being cold and others heated by geothermal activity. Springs play a vital role in ecosystems, providing a source of water for plants, animals, and human communities. In addition, a spring of water can be referred to by several other names, depending on the context, region, and characteristics of the water source. Some common alternatives include natural spring, water source, fountainhead, artesian spring, if the water flows naturally due to underground pressure, wellhead, if associated with a well, oasis, if found in a desert or arid region, thermal spring or hot spring, if the water is naturally heated, mineral spring, if the water contains minerals beneficial for health, seep, if water slowly emerges through the ground without a defined flow. So, if in future notes we come across these other terms, we will know what they are about.
When the fog descended, silence settled over the village after the discovery of old Billy's departure. His notes were left stacked, serving as entertainment for the locals who chose to share them with others.
Number 025, Spring of Water. They say, the speed at which time travels depends on the pain or pleasure of the traveler. Many years ago, I set foot in the desert for the first time. Perhaps it was a different desert back then, but the burning heat that cut through my nostrils felt the same. The bitter cold of the early mornings was the same as well, and I couldn't decide which of the two tortured me more. If it hadn't been for my conversations with Madame Death, solitude would have driven me insane in those first few days. Fortunately, she taught me to lose my sense of time, saying that talking helped to ease the pain. So, without much awareness of things, I wandered on, unsure if I was losing myself or finding myself. I just kept climbing and descending the dunes of my memories, revisiting my past, forgiving, and asking forgiveness for all the pain I had experienced, whether endured or caused. Naturally, I couldn't carry extra weight, and the heaviest burden on my back was my own critical sense of self-importance. With each new memory that surfaced, Madame Death would smile. Sometimes she even laughed out loud. Then she would ask if she could lower her gleaming steel scythe and cut away another piece of my cynicism, making me lighter. At a certain moment, I felt that my weight was lighter than it should have been, and I panicked, thinking that the deadly blade might have already severed my body, killing me and turning me into just another wandering soul, lost in the middle of nowhere. But no, I was very much alive and would continue on until dehydration finally took me. The weight I had lost, as it turned out, was from my water canteen, which had slipped from my backpack without me realizing it. Naturally, I blamed Madame Death by my side. I asked her why she found pleasure in seeing me suffer, and why she didn't just kill me outright. Playfully, she shrugged and told me to complain to my guardian angel. She said she had seen the canteen fall but that it wasn't her job to babysit me. Besides, half a liter of water wouldn't guarantee survival in the desert anyway. Soon enough, I'd be forced to pray for a miracle. I looked deep into her skeletal eyes and saw that she was telling the truth. It would be pointless to go back for half a liter of water and use it to soothe the extra thirst caused by retracing my steps. I wanted to show strength, so I forced a faint, optimistic smile and bowed my head, remembering the reason for that first experience in the desert. Back then, I had been the one distributing water to travelers. Now, it was the opposite. I was the one in need, and my entire being was crying out for a miracle. In a moment of mental clarity, I realized a tremendous inconsistency in all of this. How had I managed to spend so many days in the desert, consuming only half a canteen? Madame Death, or simply Madame, quickly responded, "Deserts have their own logic, and real time is measured by the steps taken toward consciousness. Time, distance, hunger, thirst, sleep, cold, loneliness, joy, and pain. If you truly want a miracle, you'll need to accept the local laws." With each passing moment, Madame became more seductive and trustworthy. If she hadn't frightened me before, I now felt a strange attraction to the idea of letting myself be carried away in her arms. Miracle. What kind of miracle could make a difference in such a place? Finding a full canteen dropped by another traveler? What difference would that make? Realizing that thirst doesn't exist in the desert, governed by its own laws and moving on, free from the weight of the canteen? What laws, what miracle? The only certainty was that the thought of having no water made me unbearably thirsty. Night fell and I slept, hoping everything would improve the next day. I woke under the stars and realized that I had grown accustomed to death's presence by my side but had never questioned whether I had an angel concerned about my well-being. In truth, I had overburdened death with my existential problems and taken advantage of her friendship. Well, the fact was that it was death who had shown up, not an angel. I returned to sleep, determined to express my gratitude to that unlikely friend at dawn. At dawn, my cheerful companion listened to my speech of gratitude and said, "Thank you. Since you consider me a friend, I have a favor to ask. I woke up with sore ribs today. Would you mind carrying my scythe?" Without hesitation, I replied yes. She let out her most beautiful laugh and revealed she was joking with me. We laughed together, and in that wave of joy we began our journey. From the top of the first dune, I spotted a patch of something on the sand further ahead. I asked if it was a mirage, but I got no response. I quickened my pace, and as I got closer, I saw a single plant, a thin 30-centimeter trunk with sparse foliage that I identified as a date palm. The sand around it was slightly damp. It was still early, and the heat hadn't yet caused evaporation. I couldn't spot any visible water and lamented not having anything plastic to capture the evaporating drops. This was the only way I could think to benefit from that miracle. I knelt down, touching the damp ground with the palms of my hands. I couldn't believe that this little tree was standing there, signaling an oasis in the making. I wanted to feel emotional but held back when I noticed my friend walking away without saying a word. I ran after her, asking what she was doing. As if a skeleton could shed tears, she told me she had a lot of overdue work to catch up on and wished me the best of luck. "I can't promise anything," she said, "but I'll try to schedule myself to come for you when it's your time to go." And with that, she walked away without looking back. I breathed, stunned, full of doubts and conflicting emotions. I wanted to leave with Madame, and I wanted to stay with the little plant. I wanted to understand this business about angels, miracles, different laws, friendship with death, and nights with sunlight, and yet I knew nothing anymore. I lay down next to the plant, which didn't answer any of my questions, and soon fell into a deep sleep. Since time in the desert is relative to our pain, I can't say exactly how many years have passed. I only knew that I now saw myself as plump, with hair almost entirely white. The date palm had grown into an adult tree, producing the largest and sweetest dates in the world. Everything there had changed. A vast vegetation, 2 large lakes, tents, stables, goats, birds, and lively music brought by the various caravans that seemed to have found our address on the desert map. I had countless opportunities to leave with caravans from all directions and destinations. But I couldn't leave without first discovering how and why that water had appeared there just when I passed through. I befriended the old lords of the sand. It was wonderful to hear their fabulous stories, see their rare objects, and taste the dishes from their nomadic kitchens. At that moment, one could say my knowledge of the laws of the desert was quite solid, though I couldn't gauge my level of consciousness. I remembered what Madame had said about that, but my memory was already tired and I couldn't find clarity. In any case, I didn't want to leave the desert. In one of those better equipped and heavily armed caravans arrived a man dressed in white, wearing Western attire. It wasn't hard to deduce that he was a doctor. This clean-shaven man stood out from everyone else there and reminded me of myself before I left the world. His constant reaction was one of amazement at the oasis. He couldn't comprehend how that island surrounded by sand could hold water in such abundance. An interesting behavior for a man of science, I thought. I decided to ask him for his opinion on how the water had gotten there and how much longer it would remain. The man replied that he wasn't a geologist, but there was certainly an appropriate explanation, and when he returned to his country, he would spend some time investigating it. This one knows nothing, I concluded. Shortly after, someone came shouting his name. The man left and soon returned with a woman by his side. Immediately, I recognized my friend Madame and smiled, releasing years of pent-up affection. The doctor, on the other hand, was sad and frustrated. He had come from so far to treat the sick, and his medicines had done nothing to help. When he saw the joy lighting up my face, he believed I was mocking his misfortune. Furious at what he thought was my lack of respect, he went to complain to the chief of the Bedouin tribe. Madame Death laughed. It seemed as though she might die from laughing so hard, imagining how I had failed to explain my joy at seeing death again to a scientist. I ended up laughing at myself and stopped worrying about anything else. In the little we talked, my friend said that very few people are able to see her and that I was the only one there. So, it's better not to use that argument when people ask what happened with the doctor. She also told me that she took the opportunity to give me a personal message. My time to leave had been announced to come soon, and if there was something she could do to help, it would be best to start acting as soon as possible. Yes, I said, losing my smile but not the joy of meeting again the only creature who had never criticized me for being who and how I am. I am a witness to a miracle. This place has saved lives, many lives. People don't know what I know. I am the only witness, me and the date palm tree. I want to know how this happens. I want to learn how to multiply oases, even if I no longer have time to do it. Mrs. Death wasn't surprised. Although it wasn't her task, she knew everything about my being. She said that our truth is written and available for anyone who wants to know. That there was a simple way to bring water to needed places. Be water. So, it was enough to go to meet those in need, and that was even easier because they came attracted by the solution, guided by the problems. That I wouldn't have found the oasis if I hadn't lost my water bottle. So, I asked if anyone had transformed into water to meet my needs, and the answer was yes, and this changed the date of your departure. Even after hearing the stories of the tribes and drinking desert water for so many years, I was still surprised by this thing of turning into water. Talking to death was already crazy enough. So, who turned into water so I wouldn't die? I insisted. Death exists and you are facing it, but not as you think, said my dear and true friend. No one truly dies. She went on to say that it is also not necessary to leave the human condition to be water or stone or plant. Everything happens due to conscious identification, that thing she had mentioned before. Seeing my lack of understanding, she held my hand and dragged me to a spot near the lake. She asked if I knew where the spring of water was that started it all, and I answered that I didn't. Once again, she dragged me to the place near the date palm tree and asked, "Do you remember where you put your hands when we got here?" I then repeated the gesture while she said, "Your body and the desert body are the same as the planet's body. There is nothing you can't be." I felt that ground again as if reliving the first kiss. But I still didn't know who had transformed into that spring of water, which, by the way, I hadn't found yet. Who transformed into the first water you drank? There's no such thing the way you're formatting it in your mind. We are all one, and we have the highest and most legitimate interest in the well-being of all. We are always transforming into something for the well-being of others, and we do this with our intention and desire for a loved one or even a stranger to be well. There's no reason to accept limits or difficulties. Deserts are not torture fields. The desert is fertile, and the proof is here. It can be water, food, medicine, transport, communication, and whatever else. It can be whatever. The law of the desert turns a problem into a solution. I kept silent, apologized for what I was about to say, and then asked, "Why did that traveler die?" That's when Madam nearly killed me, because I just told you that death doesn't exist. He continues life, transforms, frees himself from all burdens, and only carries his inner gold, the thing with which he identifies. You are water, and each one expands in their own way. I felt an unusual tiredness. I wanted to stop everything and lie down. At the same time, I didn't want to separate from death. She understood and said she also had to rush through her things. We said goodbye in that mix of joy and sadness. I lay down already knowing I would wake up in the middle of the night. And it couldn't be any other way. As if awakened by an owl, I ran toward the main lake with the intention of feeling every inch beneath its water until I found the spring of water. I took off my clothes and, not caring about the depth in the middle of the lake, I took a deep breath to make the revealing dive, but what revealed itself first was an unexpected cough, which only calmed down when I admitted to myself that I was already old, sick, and playing the ridiculous role of a poor man's Indiana Jones with torn underwear. I pulled myself together, walked very slowly around the lake hoping to deceive myself and discover the hidden spring of water, but the cough came back, disciplining my rebellion. I went back to bed without any sleep, recalling everything Mrs. Death had said, and I understood that I would have to act based on that degree of consciousness. This didn't require a physical presence, and I was able to return around both lakes, using only my imagination. I knew that area like no one else and was certain that the spring of water was out of ordinary sight. Like someone losing their keys, I mentally revisited all the places looking for some new possibility left aside. Once again, the same tiredness overtook me, and I fell asleep without truly sleeping, lying there between sleep and wakefulness. When I realized that I could leave my body and flow out of the tent, I finally understood that I was learning about that degree of consciousness. Soon, I moved slowly, feeling that I was in the same environment but in another density. I wasn't walking, I was shifting and felt part of myself permeating the ground. It was like when I was still in my mother's womb and couldn't differentiate the muscular flesh of my mother's abdomen from the placenta. Everything in me felt soft and wet, and even when I moved quickly, I had the sensation of being gel. I went straight to the spot where I had first touched the ground. I pressed my hands down and felt a strange vibration pulling me inward. I feared that if I let myself go, I might lose myself and never return to normal consciousness. In other times, I would have given up on that journey to the center of the earth, but after knowing that my death was near, what difference could that make? I threw myself into a dive and began merging with the wet sand. Immediately, I came into contact with a thick liquid flow and had the impression of experiencing something like an injection emptying into a live and pulsating vein. In a few seconds, I could no longer differentiate myself from all of it. I tried to measure its size to discover the beginning or the end of something that might have a defined shape, but all that remained was the so-called individual consciousness ceasing to be individual and finding a new sense of immense unity. Thinking quickly, I placed myself as any cell of any organ of any body. A person has the concept of being their body, and that cell also believes it is the person. Well, I felt like I was that cell and no longer the person. I did exist as an individual, but I was also another giant body, and within that body, as well as within the cell, there were other bodies and other cells, and all of them had consciousness of individual bodies and cells, and despite the chaos, no one needed a psychologist to know who they really were. From that point, the idea of continuing there was more attractive than returning to that tired body inside a poor tent in the middle of the desert. I was doing well in my greater consciousness awakening until a question came to disturb my enthusiasm. And the spring of water? Had I passed it without realizing? What would its real importance be, and why did this word keep coming to my mind? This shift in attention expelled me from the wet paths inside the earth, and I found myself once again near the date palm tree. I felt a bit of fear and concern for my body. I poured myself in its direction, flowing more confidently, and when I met it again, I was filled with immense gratitude. It was no longer the same body. My new consciousness revealed my family of multiple cellular and multi-atomic individuals who, for all the years of my existence, had strived to maintain balance, strength, and health in the most delicate circumstances. I wanted to hug and kiss all my subparticles and dance to the rhythmic beats of that contradictory heart. Excited, I improvised a speech, assuring everyone that death does not exist, and that soon we would join into a kind of giant body and have the consciousness of being an active part of everything that exists and always flows in expansion of itself. I left the atomic/cellular carnival, led by the joy of a fulfilled heart, and flowed back outside, choosing another spot to continue my search for the spring of water. I remembered when that lake was just a spot on the burnt sand rug, knowing it wouldn't help to search under the water, because if that had been its place, I would have identified it as soon as I arrived. I thought it could be anywhere else. And that phrase echoed inside me, anywhere else. Does that mean everywhere? I immediately shifted into injection mode right where I was standing, and soon enough I reconnected with that live flow of transparent liquid. This time I wanted to leave, but anywhere else, and I appeared in the middle of a busy street in a metropolis, worried about the times blocked by the traffic jam. I dove again and emerged several more times, each in different places, until I reached a part of some desert. It was the middle of nowhere, uninhabited, with no trace of the human race. The same silence broken by the wind, which whimsically sculpts volumes and moves them from one side to the other in a gallery of unique dunes. And there I stayed, occupying an invisible body of pasty consistency, filled with gratitude and ecstasy, discovering myself as the very spring of water. Once incorporated into the giant of water, every being can become the spring of water whenever and wherever it suits them. Each and all can be an oasis for the simple joy of participating in the expansion of the giant. This solves many issues within my small consciousness. It clarifies and revolutionizes by obeying the desert's laws, liberates and eradicates poverty. With this, political forces are altered and all places become oases. It's enough to be the spring of water that releases the natural resources of life. It no longer matters who opened the spring of water of that oasis. He or she did it because that is life that continues, and if only one tree benefited from it, it would have been worth the effort. After receiving so much, it was time to give, share, and multiply. And the angel? He works a lot. He has double duty because he enjoys what he does. Recently, he was caught by the crack of one of the tents while, between shifts, he was hanging his cloud wings and stripping off his virile body to dress himself as a very thin woman, sharpening his steel scythe in preparation to cheer up the solitude of those who were tired of the narrow limits of human consciousness. Oh, blessed be my beloved friend, Madam.
Yes, yes, yes. What a surprise. Ups. Sorry. Yes. Madame Death is actually a guardian angel. It makes perfect sense. Sensational. Wonderful. Just the way the greater life would do it. Fair and well-deserved. I've never been afraid of death, and now I'm convinced that old Billy isn't crazy. And if he is, then he's crazy in great company. The way he wrote, saying almost without saying, isn't it brilliant? Wonderful. Listen, I'm going to read it to you again. And the angel? He works a lot. He has double duty because he enjoys what he does. Recently, he was caught by the crack of one of the tents while, between shifts, he was hanging his cloud wings and stripping off his virile body to dress himself as a very thin woman, sharpening his steel scythe in preparation to cheer up the solitude of those who were tired of the narrow limits of human consciousness. Oh, blessed be my beloved friend, Madam. The angel, beloved Madam. Can you imagine the scene? Catching the guardian angel switching uniforms to pull double shifts as Mrs. Death? Seeing the wings beside the scythe right before your eyes. What an incredible closing.
It's okay, Ivy. Those are just metal plates. It's fine. We all like the way old Billy closed this story. After all, during the passage, we learned to love that female skeleton. And it feels much more comforting now that we see her as a guardian angel, if you know what I mean. So, Dr. Ada, whenever you recover from your laughter, feel free to present your analysis of the the spring water story. Ha, ha, ha.
It's not every day that we can look at death with joy, is it? This is a beautifully crafted allegorical narrative that explores themes of transformation, self-discovery, and the cyclical nature of existence. Here are some key takeaways from the analysis. Themes and symbolism. 1. Death as a companion and teacher. The character Madame Death is not a fearsome force but rather a companion, guiding the narrator through self-exploration. She serves as a metaphor for shedding burdens, letting go of ego, and embracing the unknown. 2. The desert as a metaphor for life's trials. The harsh conditions of the desert symbolize the struggles we face in life: loneliness, pain, hunger, and thirst. These challenges shape the protagonist's journey toward enlightenment. 3. The water and Oasis as symbols of spiritual awakening. The search for water parallels the human quest for meaning, connection, and sustenance, both physical and spiritual. The transformation of the barren desert into a thriving oasis suggests that miracles arise from within, and that sustenance is created through internal change. 4. Time and perception. The idea that time moves according to pain or pleasure suggests that suffering lengthens perception, whereas moments of deep realization and acceptance allow time to flow differently. 5. The concept of identity and unity. The story moves from a personal journey to a collective realization that all things are interconnected. The narrator experiences a dissolution of individual self, realizing that identity expands beyond the personal into the collective consciousness of existence. Narrative structure. The story follows a cyclical pattern, beginning with the narrator's suffering and isolation, progressing through revelation and transformation, and concluding with a return to the desert in a new form of consciousness. The character arc evolves from a lost wanderer to someone who understands the laws of the desert, then to someone who ultimately dissolves into a universal existence. Writing style. Lyrical and philosophical. The prose is poetic and filled with deep existential reflections, blending storytelling with introspection, surreal and dreamlike. The narrative has a mystical quality, blurring the boundaries between reality and metaphor. First-person perspective. This immerses the reader in the protagonist's personal journey, making the transformation feel intimate and profound. Interpretation. The narrator's journey can be seen as a metaphor for enlightenment, learning to let go, embracing suffering as part of growth, and eventually transcending personal identity. The lesson of being water suggests the importance of adaptability, generosity, and fluidity in life. The oasis symbolizes the power of inner transformation to create external change. Final thoughts. This story is a rich meditation on life, death, and transformation. It invites readers to reflect on their own burdens, their search for meaning, and the ways in which suffering and loss can lead to profound discoveries. The ending suggests that true understanding comes from merging with the world rather than resisting it.
I can't say how much we've advanced in awakening consciousness, but one thing is certain. We had a reading session that left no room for drowsiness, don't you think? Thanks, everyone.